Hey guys, so in the last video, I shared with you a bit about some medical struggles I've recently been working through. A form of
rheumatoid arthritis and lupus.
What the heck is that? Well, according to the Mayo Clinic, rheumatoid arthritis is a chronic inflammatory disorder that... Okay, I don't really need to go through the definition of all that again. You can find it in the last video. Simply put, rheumatoid arthritis and lupus fall into the category of autoimmune disease. Now, what the heck is that? Well, let me first clear up what it isn't. When I recently shared the story of my medical struggles with a close friend, I asked him, have you ever heard of autoimmune disease? He responded, you mean like AIDS? Nah, bro. I mean, I suppose with the initials you're kind of close, but no cigar. You see? It's really not all that close actually. The A in AIDS stands for acquired, meaning it comes from a virus, meaning you have to be infected by someone or something. Neither I nor anybody with autoimmune disease is going to infect anyone else. Rather, autoimmune literally describes the process of the body's immune system attacking itself. For the official definition from healthline.com, an autoimmune disease is a condition in which your immune system mistakenly attacks your body. Perhaps you've heard of any of the following autoimmune conditions. Next to the condition, I've included some famous people who have shared their struggles with the particular condition. Rheumatoid arthritis, Lucille, lupus, Lady Gaga, Sjogren's syndrome, Venus Williams, Graves' disease, Missy Elliott, psoriasis, Kim Kardashian, and type 1 diabetes, Nick Jonas. And there are many others. And for some people, these autoimmune conditions can be pretty serious. We even talked about a really serious high-profile case when referring to Selena Gomez in the last video. As I stated, her case is really serious, and she bravely shared on social media last year how it led to her needing a kidney transplant. Fortunately, my autoimmune conditions aren't that serious. Rather, my conditions just tend to affect my energy levels and my joints. Hence why the world-renowned specialist in the last video gave me the horrifying news of
You can never lift weights again.
As an actor, fitness model, and avid weightlifter, that was some of the worst news I could have gotten. Hence why my response in the last video was... that. I ignored that advice. I just learned to be smarter in the gym. So what does being smarter in the gym look like? This guy. No, just kidding. Seriously though. Sometimes it means putting your ego aside and lifting less weight. And yes, I know sometimes it's a thing where you just want to go in the gym and lift as heavy as possible and be swole! But sometimes, as you can see here, that's really not the best thing for your joints. So for me, in order to better protect my joints, I started using this training technique called
Time under tension.
What the heck is that? Well, time under tension is a training method I first learned from the first ever fitness writer I followed, Rusty Moore. At the time, I was in school studying to be an actor. And after I saw Will Smith's famous behind-the-neck pull-up scene in I Am Legend, I was determined to do whatever it took to get in the same shape as the top Hollywood actors. I immediately jumped online and searched for the words Will Smith I Am Legend workout. From there, I found Rusty's website, which had a series of articles about Hollywood actors and their physiques. And since I was most interested in that at the time, I immediately clicked on the link for Time Under Tension training. Have you heard of that before? If so, maybe you've heard of it in reference to a little guy we know as possibly the greatest martial artist of all time, Bruce Lee. It's the method he used in his now famous 1-inch punch. Time under tension training is when you purposely lift a weight at lower speeds and squeeze the surrounding muscle groups in order to maximize prolonged tension to the targeted muscle and the surrounding muscles. Because you're now focusing on maximum tension rather than heaviness of the weight, it's safer on the joints. It even helps increase true muscle tone. What the heck is that? Muscle tone is the continuous and passive partial contraction of the muscles, or the muscle's resistance to passive stretch during resting state. It's part of what's responsible for creating that look of mind-blowingly dense muscle definition you see in Bruce Lee or other Hollywood actors. Like this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna do that again this time. But how does time under tension training help with incredible feats of strength, like the ones that Bruce Lee was able to perform? The idea behind it is generating as much energetic force in the muscle as possible simply through increasing the nerve impulses in the surrounding muscles first. Confused? Well, let's illustrate what that looks like. Okay, well maybe I can't quite show you while sitting here in this seat because that probably just looked like me having the desperate urge to go to the bathroom. So instead, let me illustrate how I was able to continue making strength and muscle gains and increase muscle tone simply through a series of home workouts. Let's dive in, shall we? So what we're going to do here is review one exercise per body part that you can do at home using time under tension training simply with a set of dumbbells or exercise bands. Heck, if you don't have dumbbells or exercise bands at home, just use a simple heavy household object like canned goods, or your small child, or your cat. Okay, never mind, not a cat. Let's get started. Should I just go stand in there?
If you want to.
But we don't have it lit up. Also, I don't know what we're going to do. We're never going to be able to shoot all this with your phone battery.
Yeah. Okay, I'm shooting. I'm changing the exposure to low.
Alright, we're going to start with a basic push-up done under the time under tension principles. As you can see here, there is a slow lowering towards the floor, or negative portion of the movement. There is a slow pause, or a brief pause I should say, at the top of the movement, the isometric portion of the movement, and a slow push away from the floor. Now why are we going so slowly on each of these? Because again, the basic principle is to create as much tension in every muscle as possible. We start by squeezing the core and squeezing the triceps and the shoulders. If you don't have the strength to do it from your feet, you can do it from your knees, as you see here. However, at that point, it's easier to let go of the tension in the core, so just remember to squeeze those abs really tight and squeeze the glutes tight as well. Next, we have a back exercise. We have the bent over dumbbell row. Again, we're going slowly in each direction with a brief pause at both the bottom and the top. We're going to bring the weight up to the rib cage and squeeze the shoulder blades back in together. You'll be able to see that from behind a little bit more. And if you'll notice, I'm only using 20-pound weights, nothing too heavy. We're going to bend 45 degrees at the hip, keep the spine in alignment as much as possible, and just bring the weight up to the rib cage, shoulder blades back and down. We'll get a 360 view of this here too, so you can see it from behind briefly. Again, bring the weight up, squeeze the shoulder blades back in together. Next exercise, we've got a bodyweight squat. My hip mobility and flexibility was a little bit lesser on these first few reps as I was feeling kind of tight, but you'll notice that still trying to get a good range of motion, going at least down to 90 degrees. But what you're really going to focus on with the squat is, again, you're going to imagine as much tension in each muscle as possible. So you'll feel it in the core, you'll feel it in the glutes, the quads and the hamstrings as well. You'll even feel it in the shoulders as you lift your arms up to balance at the bottom. Again, we'll get the 360 view here. Next, we're going to move on to a shoulder exercise. These are dumbbell lateral raises. They can be a little bit aggravating if you have any kind of shoulder issues. So as you'll notice, I'm really going light with the weight here, only 10 pounds. Bringing the weight up slowly. With each dumbbell in my hand, I'm squeezing it. You won't be able to really tell from the video here, but I'm squeezing it really hard, trying to create as much tension with as little weight as possible. You're going to bring the elbows slightly above the shoulders and the wrists slightly above the elbows. That's where you'll feel the most tension in the shoulders without aggravating the shoulder joint. We've got a side view here. And again, if you'll remember, we're trying to create as much imagined tension in the muscle as possible. We've got a bicep curl here, and that's where you can really see that principle being illustrated, because you're going to notice how there's tension even at the bottom of the movement. I don't let the elbows just hang down at the bottom. I keep the tension in the biceps. You can even see it, well, you'll see it from the side direction, but from the front here you can see it in the shoulders a little bit too. Again, the whole concept of time under tension is to squeeze the surrounding muscles as much as possible as well, so that the targeted muscle gets the maximal tension. Again, you'll see here squeezing the bicep, but you can see the front delt being activated a little bit. We have a tricep exercise here. This is the tricep kickback. Tricep exercises tend to aggravate my elbow pain a little bit with joint inflammation there, so again, going really light here. I'm doing one arm at a time and even keeping my other hand on my core to remember to squeeze the core as tight as possible, trying to create tension in the surrounding muscles as much as possible. And lastly, we have a plank. This is for the abs. You'll see from the front there, tension in the shoulders as well, surrounding muscles as always. Keeping the core as straight as possible. I do have my backside slightly elevated here a little bit, though, just because it allowed me to feel like I was squeezing my core as much as possible. And you'll be able to see that from the side here, where I'm not in perfect alignment, but I am really focusing on squeezing the abs almost as if I'm doing a crunch during the plank. And that's the end of the exercises.
So there you guys have it, a simple workout that you can do at home if you have any limitations that require you to take better care of your joints. No matter the limitation, you don't need to make any excuses. I certainly didn't when the doctor gave me my diagnosis. As always, I'm Aaron Siegel, and I'm not going to make any excuses. Are you? Any questions about the exercises you've seen here today? Or do you simply just want to share your story? If so, please comment below. I'll try my best to respond. And remember, when there are no excuses, there are no limits. Talk soon.